Hey guys, welcome back. Today is Monday, April 20th, and today we're going to start talking about area. So we're going to get into over this week a bunch of formulas. Today we're going to start off fairly simple and it's going to build throughout the week. You'll want to make sure you take good notes because we're not doing a test at the end and only quizzes. You will be able to use your notes so you don't necessarily have to memorize these formulas, which is good for you, but you do have to know how to use them. So just make sure you're taking really good quality notes so you can use those on your quizzes. And then next week, I will be giving you information on the project that's going to be your test grade where you are creating a floor plan. So I think you're really going to enjoy that project. You'll have plenty of time to work on it. The other thing that's going to be coming to you pretty soon is your placement test, which we would do this time of year for 7th grade as I place you into classes for next year. So make sure that you're watching for information on that, and that'll be a test you need to take. It's not a grade, just helps give me some information for next year. All right, let's get started with our information for today. Today we're going to talk about the area of rectangles, squares, and parallelograms. We're going to calculate the area of rectangles, squares, and parallelograms using a formula. We're going to calculate the area of a complex figure and calculate the unknown side, the length or width of a rectangle or a square. You'll need your math book, your math notebook, and a pencil and pen. All right, first thing we're going to talk about, I hope this is review for you, is area of rectangles and squares. So area is the space within a region. So when we talk about area, we're talking about all of this, like in our rectangle, the whole entire kind of purple or pink space here. And it's measured in square units. So if we have centimeters, what we're saying is how many square centimeters, like 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter, would it take to fill this entire rectangle, okay? And we find the area simply by multiplying the length times the width. Now, of course, if it's a square, your length and your width are the same. So in this example, we have our rectangle. So the formula is area equals length times width. That's what the L and the W mean, okay? So area equals 3 times 8, which is 24 centimeters squared. This squared is a very important part of labeling our area because it means again that we have all these like little squares in here and that's how many it would take up. And if you look in your book, you can see a really good picture of what they mean when they're doing this squared. So that's just how we label it. All right, our area for a parallelogram looks a little different. So the area of a parallelogram is base times height. This is the base down here. So you can see here our base is 4. And then the height, what they do is it's not the slanted line, okay? They draw a straight line from the corner up to the very top, and that's your height. And that'll always be labeled pretty clearly. And I did kind of switch these here. It doesn't really matter if you do height times base or base times height. So we have 4 times 9, which is 36. And I believe we talked about this last week. When you're not given a unit of measurement, we just call it units. So 36 units squared. So again, base times height is our area of a parallelogram. Now, this is where it gets a little bit trickier. We're going to find the area of complex figures as well. So to find the area of a complex figure, determine the area of each smaller region in the figure and add these together. So we're going to start with our area of region 1. So if you kind of watch my mouse here, let's try this pointer. I've never done this, guys. I don't know how this is going to go. Here we go. Okay, so let's pretend we're cutting it off, and we're cutting it off right here. See that? So now we're left with this square. Now, we're not going to use this 8 here because the 8 is this big line here. Well, we don't want to know this part because it's not part of our square, okay? So the first area is this square here. Woo! And as you can see, it's 5 by 5, okay? So to calculate the area of region 1, we're going to do 5 times 5 equals 25 inches squared. So that's the area of this square here. Now region 2, okay, so we've cut it off. Now we have like this little rectangle. Well, again, this 8 isn't so important because this is the whole line. So for our rectangle here, it's essentially 3 inches, because we know that from this one here, by 2 inches. So our area of region 2 is 3 times 2, which equals 6 inches squared. Oops, sorry guys. So now we're going to add those two areas together to get the area of the total figure. So we just add 25 plus 6, and that gives us 31 inches squared. So the really important thing to remember here is you have to break this into 2 or maybe 3 shapes where you can find the area and add it together. Just make sure you're using the correct measurement. So again, this 8 just isn't very important because our square is 5 by 5, and then our rectangle is 3 by 2. Okay? And then the last thing you're going to be asked to do in your assignment today is find an unknown measurement. We did this with our perimeter. When given the area of a rectangle or square, divide the area by the known side to find the unknown side. So we're told in our rectangle here that the area is 65 inches squared. So we're simply going to do 65 divided by 5 because our area is 65. Our known side is 5. So 65 divided by 5 equals 13 inches. And we're just going to label it inches. It's not inches squared. Sorry, guys. Every time I tap it barely, it changes slides. It's not inches squared because we're not talking about the area. We've been given the area. We're just talking about the length of a side. And you can kind of double check your work here because we know to find area, we would do length times width. So 13 times 5 does in fact equal 65 inches squared. So again, just take the area you're given, divide it by the side you're given, and that will tell you your unknown side. All right, guys, I would like you to pause this and complete pages 242, just page 242, 1 through 12, and you're going to do all of those. So pause, do that, come back, ready to grade with a pen, please. All right, on number 1, in order to find the length and the width, you needed to count those squares. So we had 9 squares by 7 squares, and 9 times 7 is 63 units squared. Those measurements are so important. If you forgot to do that, go ahead and write it in pen. Same thing on number 2, we needed to count the squares. We had 9 by 2. 9 times 2 is 18 units squared. Number 3, we were given the measurement. 5.6 times 2 is 11.2 units squared. On number 4, you're given the length of one side, and you can tell it's a square. So it's just 12 times 12, which is 144 yards squared. Number 5 was a parallelogram. And you can kind of be following along in your book as I'm explaining these. The base was 2.3. The height was 2.7. So 2.3 times 2.7 is 6.21 meters squared. Number 6, the base was 5. The height was 12. 5 times 12 is 60 inches squared. Now in number 7, you needed to break that into 2 shapes. Okay, and you probably had to do a little bit of calculating. So here's how we would have figured this out, and follow along in your book with me. On that smaller rectangle, you have 12 by 10. So we know that's 100 20 yards. Okay. Then on that bigger one, you don't really know the length of that top side, but you're given that whole bottom is 28. So you know that that top part has to add up to 28, and you're showing the 10 off to the side. So 28 minus 10 is 18. And that gives you the length of that top side there. And then 18 times 20 is 360. 360 plus 120 is 480 yards squared. So I hope I didn't lose you guys there. Kind of follow along and rewind that and listen to it again if you need to. Same thing on number 8. We had 3 shapes there. So that first shape is a square. It's 2 by 2. So that gives you 4. And then that next one, again, you had to do like a little bit of subtracting, and you had 2 by 1. So that's 2. And then the bottom is 1 by 1, which is 1. So 4 plus 2 plus 1 is 7 centimeters squared. Let me know if you end up having questions on those. Number 9, we're finding the unknown measurement. So we needed to do 25 divided by 5, which is 5 feet. 10, we needed to do 136 divided by 17, which is 8 yards. Number 11, 70 divided by 5.6, which is 12.5 meters. And on the last one, 140 divided by 10, which is 14 centimeters. All right, guys, I hope that all made sense. Go through and rewind if you need to. Slow it down to listen to those explanations. Also, keep in mind, I will be doing math help tomorrow at 1 o'clock. The meeting code is math1. All right, guys, great job. I will see you